It is the final word, Sri Lanka Australia Daily. Adam Collins and Bharat Sundaresan with you for Maurice Blackburn Lawyers, Australia's #1 plaintiff law firm. We're sat in the same place we were last night. We've got a lot more energy though.
Yeah, a lot more energy.
What a day of cricket that was. Bharat, sum it up in 30 seconds to begin, please.
Firstly, before I start, Sri Lanka have no energy left. That is because Australia piled it on. It was Usman Khawaja's day. It was Josh Inglis's day. It was Australia's day. It started with Usman Khawaja making his first double hundred, the first double hundred by an Australian in Sri Lanka. Then it was Josh Inglis making his first 100 on debut in front of his parents and every Australian worth his salt, her salt. And then came the collapse. 3 wickets, we expected it. Australia declaring at 6 for 654. Sri Lanka already in trouble at 3 for 44.
There'll be people who hear you describe it as Australia's Day and think that you're subliminally messaging to change the date of Australia Day.
Oh yeah,
You'll aggravate. It's the same group of people that when they see people describe something as Boxing Day Eve, they think it's because you're actively trying to not say Merry Christmas.
Oh really?
It's the same group of brain-fried types. Anyway, good afternoon or good evening to you.
That group doesn't like me anyway. So.
And they're not watching us, that's for sure. Anyway, don't know why I started there. It's too late to go back. Usman Khawaja, Josh Inglis, bloody hell, days. Travis Head's catch, Matt Kuhneman, first over back in Test cricket, getting a wicket straight away. Sri Lanka wilting in the heat. There's a lot to get through. Why don't we start this one about Josh Inglis?
Yeah, let's do that.
Because he's been picked at such a bloody good time. You know, he made the runs in the Shield to make sure he was going to be the spare batter. If they were picking for pretty much any other position that wasn't the opening batter spot for the Border Gavaskar, it would have been him. I mean, and that's no criticism of McSweeney. It's more just like the way the frame was that McSweeney vaulted up from a number 3 to an opener as a bit of a misfit, but one that seemed good enough to work at the time. And they ruled Inglis out on the basis that he wasn't a top order player. But a middle order player he most certainly is. And he's demonstrated that for Australia at white ball level when he's been able to bat at a really decent clip. He's got a 43 ball international 100 for Christ's sake.
Yeah.
And then, you know, I made a couple of comments on commentary today about his World Cup in 2023 and some responses back saying, it wasn't that good a World Cup. I'm like, yeah, you can, out of context, but you look at what he did when he did it. The semi-final runs that he made in that narrow chase, he probably only got 30, but they were 30 runs that demonstrated that this is a guy that's got serious steel about him and can do really tough jobs. The runs he made against Sri Lanka in that group game when they were 1 loss away from elimination. So that's where, so it felt at the time. That's where Inglis has shown his bona fides before getting picked. They've picked him, again, at the perfect time. The easy thing here would have been, let's not rock the boat. Let's pick Constas. Let's not piss people off because Constas is obviously the vibe right now. But by moving head up to the top, it gave that opportunity to play Inglis. And I'm so pleased that he was able to do something that's pretty special. We'll come to the gravity of the achievement with a ton on debut in a moment. But just the way he played, how settled he looked from the moment he walked out there.
Do you believe life is all about timing, Adam? Are you a believer that
timing is everything?
Timing is everything. And timing was everything for Josh Inglis. Form of his life. But just imagine, I'm sure at some point, even if it wouldn't have come to him now, it is going to come to Nathan McSweeney at some point saying, hey, I made my Test debut. I will cherish it forever. But I was up against Jasprit Bumrah in fading light in Perth. The ball was doing all sorts. And that continued for the first 3 tests. And Josh Inglis walks out in the form of his life again. But with Australia, 3 for 400?
3 for 401,
401. The Sri Lankan spinners were flat. Prabhat Jayasuriya had bowled nearly 50 overs already on a pitch which is not doing too much. Slow turn, and the Sri Lankans were getting nothing out of it anyway. And happy days. This is to not take anything away from Josh Inglis, but it just reaffirms the point that everything in life is timing. Timing is everything. And the selectors need a lot of plaudits for getting the timing right. They got the timing right with Bo Webster.
Yep.
They got the timing right with Sam Constas as well. I mean, same thing. There was so much noise around Sam Constas making his debut in Perth. Who knows how that would have gone. By the time Sam Constas plays the 4th test, Bumrah had become, and everybody had been Bumrah, and they were like, let's try something, and it worked out. So again, it all boils down to timing, and Josh Inglis, the credit where he does deserve the most is how he made the most of it. Hitting his first ball for 4 and looking like he belongs, and he does belong in this dressing room, let's face it. He was part of the 2021 T20 World Cup squad when they won the title. He didn't play a single game, and like you said, he made major contributions, even if they weren't major in terms of numbers, after he replacing Alex Carey after just one game. And that innings against Sri Lanka, well, at that point, Australia was 0-2 down.
Yep.
One loss against that, if they lost to Sri Lanka, they would have been out within the first 10 days of the tournament. And and Inglis kept them alive in the tournament. He was faultless behind the stumps as well. So he deserves all the credit. And he's been part of this test squad as well. He's part of the Ashes squad. So it wouldn't have felt very alien for him to be part of a test playing 11. But still, it is your test debut, and you could see how much it meant to him. The way he batted today, he looked like a subcontinental veteran, not just a test veteran, but someone who knows exactly how to attack spin and how to make the most of 3 for 401.
Yeah, and it's the right day to pay credit to selectors as well, because gosh, they cop a beating when Australia don't do well. When Australia were collapsing at Melbourne, they were 6 for 91, weren't they, when Bumrah was through that middle session. Saw some online back and forth. One poster in particular who was like, that if it were a footy club, you see, they'd sack them all. All the selectors would be sacked. Gone, sacked. Because Australia was 6 for 91 and Bumrah was swinging it around corners, you see. But you look at it in sequence. Constant Hunt, half century on test debut, and picked at the right time. The way that it worked out and the disrupting role he played with Bumrah in that particular test at that particular time did change the course of history, clearly. Sydney, Bo Webster, they picked him at the right time. And now they've done the same thing with Josh Inglis. That's not an easy thing to do. That's the reason why you have selectors there, because teams aren't picked on spreadsheets. It isn't runs divided by wickets equals these are the 6 players you get to bat in the top 6 spots. It's more, it's got to be more thoughtful and nuanced than that. That's why these roles exist, and that's when the timing of it. It's not just about who they pick and when they pick. It's when they drop and how they omit. And look at McSweeney. McSweeney was omitted at a really good time as well. It kind of saved him from going through a whole series of being Bumrah'd. And he returns here. And I know it's only a small thing, and I say returns. He sub-fielded today, back in the Galle where he's fielded in 3 test matches, and takes an absolute blinder off Mitchell Starc in his second over. So, I mean, like there are a range of things they've gotten right. Hey, let's just stick with Inglis before we go back to Usman Khawaja. The achievement in historical terms. 28 Australians, 7 women and 21 men. Almost certain of that. I think it was 7 women. It might be 8. Either way, it's 20 men for sure before today. It had been a decade. I was there in Dominica when Adam Voges brought up 3 figures in 2015. Not to make it about me, but I was on commentary for that, my first test match.
You were there.
I was doing the
exactly.
doing
there you go.
the ball.
You should make it about.
Brought up the 100, but it's more that it's less. I'm kind of obsessed with hundreds on debut. I've been vaguely trying to get a book up about it for years. And Inglis today, when he got hot, I'm like, this is so good. Josh Inglis is going to get one of these cherished things. And the reason I am so drawn in by that statistical category is that it kind of takes all types. It takes everyone ranging from, Charles Bannerman in the first ever test innings. Bill Ponsford, one of the great Australian openers and the great of his era in that sort of pre-Bradman time, and of course they cross over as well. Archie Jackson, who could have been anything but 100 on debut for him as well. Then you got players who didn't go on to have these prolific careers. Someone like Dirk Wellham, or someone like Wayne Phillips, or someone like Marcus North. All terrific players, but they all share this one thing in common. This one day when everything worked at the first time of asking. And Inglis has that forever. We interviewed him before on radio, and he will now be able to carry that tag with him for the rest of his life. It shouldn't mean as much as it does, but it does. It's the magic of cricket that some things matter more than others. It isn't always right that they do. And yes, the degree of difficulty at 3 for 401 wasn't high, but you've still got to make them. And it's a privilege to be here for something like that, and indeed to call it again, as we were doing today when he brought up 3 figures.
It is significant. Think about it. Only 470 men have played Test cricket for Australia. He is the 470th. And of which now only 21 men, including Inglis, have made a Test 100. So that opportunity, that door is open. Let's say half those 470 or 60% of them are batters. So it opened for everyone, that first Test innings, wherever you played it. And only 21 have managed to say, well, I belong at this level immediately. Whatever happened to their career from that point doesn't matter. Mark Waugh had a great career. Michael Clarke had a greater career.
You can go through those that made big contributions, those who were captain,
Chappell,
Herbie Collins, Reggie Duff, others who didn't have the. You can kind of go through all of them, and what I love about them is this idea that they did that one thing.
Yeah.
They all did that one thing together.
Yeah. Because everybody gets only one first innings.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, I
And
mean,
they did it.
and not all of them led long lives and long productive lives. A couple of them died before the age of 40. You know what I mean? Like, there's a magic to it, is all I would conclude on this point by saying. And I think that Inglis gets it. That's what I wanted to end on. Inglis seemed to understand. Some cricketers are really into this stuff and some aren't. It felt to me when speaking to him that he understands that this is a momentous thing, not just because he's managed to succeed objectively in his first test innings, but he understands what it means in that wider context that I'm discussing there.
Yeah, and there is this maturity to him. I mean, even when he used to speak to us during press conferences during the 50-over World Cup, you could see that he's 29 now. He was maybe 27 at that point. But he's an old 27 in that sense. And he's got this worldly wise feel to him, even the way he answers questions in media conferences, or just generally his air. He's got this confidence of someone who thinks he knows he belongs at this level.
Yeah, and look, he might be the captain one day, right? It's improbable because of his age profile. He's 29 and he's played one test and all that. But you couldn't rule it out, because he's captaining the white ball teams in Cummins and Marsh's position when they're not around. He's been given that chance a few times now. I can see a world where he becomes... He already is in his own way a senior player, isn't he? Because, I mean, he's a one-test senior player, which doesn't happen too often, but that goes to just how much white ball cricket he's played. A bit like Adam Gilchrist. When Adam Gilchrist rocked up in the test team, he was immediately a senior player because he was like a World Cup winner in the same way that Inglis is, and he played a whole bunch of one-day international cricket. Similar thing going on here, I think, and the fact that Inglis hasn't needed the gloves to get picked is a great sign for him going forward too.
Oh, very much so. I mean, the best way to describe him is he's already part of the leadership group.
Yep.
And he's been part of that leadership group for a while now in white ball cricket, and I'm sure he's looked at as being part of the leadership group in this test team already.
Now, Usman Khawaja. 195 not out with his high score in Test cricket before today when he was declared on because of conditions at the time, of course, when it was raining at the SCG a couple of days ago. So it wasn't declared on in the sort of Graham Hicks sense, if you like, or the Michael Klinger sense, if you want to go to a Sheffield Shield example. But nevertheless, 195 not out. He would have probably thought, although he would never have acknowledged it, that will remain his highest score because he had gone, 33 test innings without a ton. You go back to Edgbaston in 2023 when he was absolutely remarkable in making sure that Australia had what they needed to win that test match. But still, that's a long time ago. Whether there was going to be test ton 16 we spoke about yesterday, whether there can ever be the opportunity that would open up for him to get to 200, that's a whole other thing. And when he saw it today, he seized it. And to finish with 232, it's a landmark day for him. At a time in his career when it's the highest score that an Australian cricketer has made at age 38.
Yeah, and so many other records as well. I think the oldest Australian to score a double hundred as well after Bradman, if I'm not
I think it must be, because Bradman's 173 not out was the highest score at this age before today.
Yeah, there you go.
That was his Leeds 48 innings. Yeah.
And for him to become the first Australian to make a double hundred in Sri Lanka, and also now has the highest score for an Australian against Sri Lanka, going past Michael Slater's. One of my favourite innings growing up, by the way, 219 in Perth. What a great innings that was.
The uppercuts and
and
with the power spot.
The way he would go after Muralidharan and the stump mic going every time he stepped out of his crease. Anyway, brought back memories. And you're right. I mean, we've all spoken about this for the last few days, but you have to repeat what had happened to him here in 2016, right? Because he's spoken about it so much. Adam, I remember interviewing him in Bangalore before the start of the India series 2 years ago, the Test series in India, and you could see he gets a little emotional. He's very touchy about the fact that they used to enforce that tag on him. That stigma had stayed with him for a long time of him. Uzi can't play spin. Uzi can't play spin. And he always says he's had a love-hate relationship with the subcontinent. Now it's just all love, love, love. It started in the UAE, but it really blossomed in Pakistan on flat pitches. He showed he can do it here in Sri Lanka with the 71 in the first innings. He definitely showed he can do it in India. I mean, the 100 in Ahmedabad was on a flat pitch, but the innings in Delhi and Indore were crucial. And now I think he's proved, he's gone from, I can't think of too many more dramatic transformations in the reputations of a batter, as much as Uzi has gone from Uzi can't play spin to Uzi dominates spin. He plays the reverse sweep as well as probably any Australian has done in these conditions. And is he the best batter after Steve Smith for these conditions in Australia? Yes, he is. So he's come a long way, and it was touching when he got to his double, and we've got so used to since 2022 him doing a jig, him doing the dab, or all sorts of things, just doing whatever he wants to do after while celebrating a milestone. But today he was so subdued. He's raised his bat, kissed the ground. He's spoken a lot about his faith in the last few days as well, about how he doesn't know where the end date is, but his God knows where it is, and how much perspective he's got from that. So I think it was a very touching moment today when he did get to that double 100 to do it in Galle as well.
Yeah, absolutely. It's nicely summed up, that journey that he's been on. I was there in Bangladesh in 17 when he was dropped, in India in 17 when he didn't get a game. And what happened to him here, specifically at this ground in 16, which we spoke about a little bit yesterday, to transform his career this way. This is the beautiful full circle moment, to go from out twice in a day to getting a double ton on the same ground 9 years later. And look, he's going to get at least 2 more innings in this series, you'd expect. Who knows, maybe 3, but Australia batting once here, well, he might only get 1 more hit, who knows.
Yeah,
but balance the probability, he'll bat a couple more times, so he can add to that formidable record against spin since he turned the corner in Dubai back in 2018. Baz, let's quickly run to the Sri Lankan batting innings briefly, because it doesn't require a huge amount of conversation. Tomorrow we'll get into it. Matt Kuhnemann, though, first over back in the test team, hasn't played a test since Ahmedabad in 2023. Had to take wickets down in Hobart this year to remain on the radar. And there were other finger spinners doing the rounds, right? And there he was. And there were obviously leg spinners as well who wanted the opportunity to spin the ball away from the right-handers the way that Kuhnemann does. But getting the new ball and immediately sliding one through, getting one to bite from the leg stump line, leg before decision goes his way, confirmed on DRS. That is going to do wonders for his confidence through the rest of this match and the series.
Australia wanted a left-arm spinner, and Australia specifically wanted Matthew Kuhnemann. That's why they were very, very anxious about what the state of his thumb was, but he's recovered magnificently, even according to Nick Jones, the physiotherapist, who's surprised with how quickly he's come around. And he showed it in his first over. He was given the new ball alongside Mitchell Starc, because that's what you do in these conditions when you have a left-arm spinner and the new ball. And he struck just because of how vital they are. The pace at which he bowls, the trajectory, he doesn't give the ball too much air. And one turns, one doesn't turn. The previous one didn't turn, this turned. He played back Oshira Fernando and he got him out. And I said this to you earlier in my interview with him. A couple of days ago, he said the dirt marks from Indore are still on his baggy green, and it brings back special moments. I think he's going to add a few more dirt marks, because he will bowl a lot here. For Australia's sake, or maybe who knows, the base Sri Lanka batting, he might not need to bowl a lot more, because they did not look good or comfortable against any of Australia's bowlers today.
Starc gets Karuna out there for the 9th time in Test cricket. He worked him over here in 16 routinely. Karuna Ratner and Starc split the difference in 2022. But yeah, in the gully, McSweeney, that diving chance that he had to bobble up and keep his head, really, and he effectively collected his own crumbs, and that was an important moment there, because for most fielders in the gully position, that's going through them. But McSweeney's already shown that he's top class in there. And then Nathan Lyon getting his old mate Angelo Matthews. He had a word to him. Matthews' first ball worked one off the hip from Starc, and I think Lyon was kind of gesturing, oh, that's a nice one to get first up, and implying that because he was down the non-strikers end, that he was going to come on himself.
Correct.
And he duly did. Match-up bowling. And then round the corner, Travis Head, what a catch.
Oh, what a catch. And last year, Travis Head was trying to negotiate his way away from short leg, because he said, look, I'm also getting older. Someone new, young should get in there. Nathan Lyon said, nothing doing. Till the time I'm playing Test cricket, Travis Head stays in there. And today he showed why. He takes so many of these incredible catches now, or he's made a habit of it at short leg. He doesn't always stand at short leg for the fast bowlers. Now he's doing it for both spinners and fast bowlers. Manas has at times kind of shared the responsibility, but it was a great catch. But you're right, you just could see that wicket coming. Angelo Matthews had no clue against Nathan Lyon, and if not for rain, Chandimal was all at sea as well against Nathan Lyon. That would have been another huge wicket, but Australia have enough time to roll over Sri Lanka anyway. 3 for 44 overnight, which means they trail by 410. That's crazy numbers. No, 610. 410 is the follow-on mark. It's the follow-on. I mean, Australia...
Bloody hell, add 200 to it.
There is a possibility Australia bowl out Sri Lanka for say 80 or 90 tomorrow and set them a target of 1,000. Somebody has to set a target of 1,000 and still win.
Yeah. Go full 1928 at Brisbane.
Right on.
Break the all-time runs record. Ooh, Baz.
I know. I'm getting
Someone
twitchy
tell-
as well.
Well, I was going to say someone tell Steve Smith he won't care in the slightest, but someone tell someone.
Yeah, someone tells.
Someone tell someone in influence. There's a big old record there from nearly a century ago.
Yeah.
Right, it's getting dark here. Hall of Fame in a moment. Final word daily, Sri Lanka Australia Daily. Adam Collins, Bharat Sundaresan with you. There's another daily in the feed as well. Jeff Lemon and Isabel Westbury, the Women's Ashes Day 1 MCG. I know that Australia have had a very good day, and I know that Jeff and Izzy will do a great job wrapping it up. All of our coverage with all of these dailies, all of this work we're doing across the Aussie summer, Southern summer, is thanks to CBUS Super, who've been with us since 2018, I reckon it was. So we're so grateful to have their support. Their message is clear, that you should get your super sorted out. cbussuper.com.au, their returns, and what members of theirs do, so many of them, help build the country as well. They invest out of the CBUS fund in nation-building projects from coast to coast. So cbussuper.com.au, their outstanding past performance is not a reliable indicator of future performance. Baz, our Hall of Fame today is as ever, our most final word moment of the day. What stood out to you?
Two quick ones. I was being a creep. I was there in the corner of the roof where our press box, our commentary box is, and peering into the family box. I kept an eye on the Inglis parents. I think from the time he got to 92, and just studying everything they were doing, on the body language, and it was beautiful to watch.
Yeah.
You know, the nerves every time they were on the edge of their seat, and they were telling each other off cutely every time one of them got a bit too excited. And the moment when he did get to the 100, they leant in to see if it was 2 runs, and then his dad was banging the glass, blowing kisses to his son, and then they had shared this lovely kiss as well when the camera came on. That was nice. And the other one was watching Bo Webster stood at first slip. It reminded me of Nagpur. Jeff Lemon in the middle, you and me in a tuk-tuk. Because that's what it looked like. He had no space, Bo Webster. He kept telling Steve Smith to go slightly further to his right, but there was no space. It was funny to see him, lodged in there at first slip.
Just had a bit more space.
Yeah,
I can see him already going, damn, boys. Right, so my Hall of Fame nomination. How about the first 3 wickets all falling for 7 apiece?
Yeah.
Quite like that. Ashada, Karuna Ratna and Matthew 777. There was plenty today, but from a quirky little numbers thing, that's where I'm going to leave it. Tomorrow, I promise you, we'll put the ring light on before we record. This was sloppy on my part.
I'm still sitting here.
I forgot how dark it gets in Galle and how quickly it happens. Much like the Test cricket here, it happens slowly, then all at once. Adam Collins, Bharat Sundaresan, our coverage, as always, for Maurice Blackburn Lawyers, CBUS Super. Thank you to all of our patrons. If you like what we're doing, we're on the race to Morley. We picked up a bunch of new patrons last week when we put out the call on the weekly show that we were trying to hit 800 while we're in Sri Lanka. We're a chance of doing that. So jump on patreon.com/the final word and support doing what we're doing and how we like to do it around the world. And we'll do it all again tomorrow. Good night.